we're the only large company in our region that genuinely took that date, took it seriously, and we're done with it.
Yes, it's over.
And there's
we didn't
people
have
that
to
are
go back
still
and do it
dealing
again.
with it today.
Right.
So
Right.
I wanted to touch on that a year out and just be able to like say great job to our team, all parts of our team, our leadership team, and all the salespeople that are like juggling the craziness of the market along with these changes. It's definitely not easy, but everybody did a really good job, and we can confidently say a year out that not much has shifted.
And thank you to the consumers and our clients who continue to trust us.
Welcome everyone to the Realty Podcast. We are here today to talk about last year on August 17th. I will never forget that date. It's also my nephew's birthday. Woo. Shout out to Callan.
Shout out.
We were counting down the days until August 17th because the NAR settlement was going to officially be how we were operating.
That's
so
right.
We were planning in advance, and we've talked about that so much. What's crazy is we're now a year into it. The new way. We said we were skating toward where the puck was going, and
That's
we
right.
did. We stayed true to that.
Yep.
We still are, I think, ahead of where most people
Very much.
are.
Yep.
But let's talk about the impact today that's had, if any, to the industry, to our company. Like what is the aftermath of that? We're a year out.
What's really interesting is I think primarily the impact was truly just change. In other words, everybody is still buying and selling property. Agents are still working with their clients, and they're still being compensated for it, just like they were before. The only difference is in the how. So, and what I would say about that is you alluded to the fact that we decided to skate to where the puck was going, is how we described it, which meant that rather than just trying to look for small changes where we could kind of navigate around what the resolution was in the settlement, right? But look for loopholes, which is what I think, unfortunately, some in the industry did. As a matter of fact, there have been subsequent articles as a result of that, where they have talked about the fact that a lot of companies tried to avoid making the change. They found other ways to offer compensation to the other side. We did not. We opted not to do that. What's really interesting is in one of our major marketplaces, the MLS had opted to keep moving forward because they had been in a separate lawsuit from the NAR lawsuit. So they opted to continue to move forward with the opportunity or the option for sellers, not agents, but sellers to offer compensation to the buyer agent. We opted not to even use it, even though all of our listings go into that MLS. What's interesting is months later, they ended up having to change it. I think it was about 9 months after the settlement. They opted to change it. And what we've discovered is really, truly, there's just more clarity in our industry as a result of this. In other words, we understand, each client understands who they're hiring, what they're compensating them, and how this process is going to move forward. Ultimately, really, truly, the impact is that there's just more clarity. I think before the settlement, what we discovered throughout the process of making the shift in the industry was that there were a lot of buyers and sellers who just didn't understand how it worked. So we moved forward. I think two things that happened as a result of the settlement for us as an organization. One, we got so great at the clarity and the discussion with our clientele. I think that's one, and obviously the customers as well. But two, we actually simplified our forms. We saw it as an opportunity to say, if there was a lack of clarity before for people, consumers who were not naturally involved in this industry on the regular, let's see what we can do to make it even better for them. Mm-hmm. I think any change, any kind of disruption, any kind of perceived crisis is an opportunity truly to make yourself better and to do better for the consumer. And so we really took it as that opportunity, and I couldn't be more proud. And what's interesting is, you and I both know, there are subsequent changes happening in the state of Massachusetts. Some feel definitely informed by what happened in the NAR settlement. And so we're seeing in the rental side now that there's a shift in how those agents are compensated. What's so great is because of how we handled it on the sales side, our rental agents were completely ready for this.
Right.
They were able to make that pivot quickly. And I've heard from several of them, they're like, oh, this is so easy.
Right.
This is just wonderful. So I really think that the better you get at at taking a look at a change and figuring out where is the opportunity, how can we do even better by our customers and clients, then it makes these situations, as tough as they are, very rewarding in the end.
For sure. It's interesting. So Risk Media is doing a really interesting survey and report on what has happened in the wake, and in terms of just the forms and what are you using, and companies and geographical areas, and how are they doing in terms of the percentage up or down, and commission, and on the buy side, on the sell side, for new agents, for experienced agents, and what they're thinking they see. I actually am going to be on a panel at their conference in the fall, and just was on kind of a prep call, and they don't have the whole survey done, but they think that they're seeing, inexperienced agents are perhaps making less, right? Because they have to really articulate their value. I mean, and I don't, you never want to be like, yeah, I'm an advocate for that, but and I don't really think we're seeing that, but we don't have inexperienced agents.
I was going to say it's a different story. Yeah.
So that was interesting to me to hear, but then hearing it, it's it's not that crazy. I mean, that's how the world works, right? When you're new at something, you have to get better, and that's a part of it. So I don't take massive issue with that. I also do believe that newer agents who are going to do really well, I've seen it. I could name the people right now.
Yes.
That started after, so in the last year or so. It's just a matter of they didn't have the old ways.
Yes.
They didn't have to learn anything new. Yeah. So we're up. And, overall, we didn't see necessarily that people are earning less, I guess.
That's right.
We didn't, not up significantly, but really no change to that. If you're an agent listening, which I think that's most of our listeners, it just looks different. And I think there's still you still have to quantify the time that went into learning it. From a leadership standpoint, the amount of time we had to put into these trainings.
Yes.
We were prepping for 2 years.
Right.
That costs something. And their time costs something.
Yes.
So the question is, you're looking across the board where a year out, we are not seeing a decrease. You're just doing things differently. And guess what? You spent exactly one time adjusting to one change. And all of these people that are saying, well, we'll figure it out when it comes down, we'll figure out the next way. You're spending way too much time adjusting all along the way, right? Oh,
that's
crap,
right.
This announcement was out. Now we have to change this.
Right.
Now we're going to do it this way. The more you spend energy trying to find loopholes, as opposed to just going to where we're going, everybody is working together, and it's good. Ultimately you have to look at it. If this is what people feel, it's good for the consumer, it's good for the industry if everybody can figure out how to drive toward the future. But I think the whole perception of a new agent, they might have the advantage, right? Because they only know one way.
Yeah.
They don't have to unlearn the old way. And that's all it is. It's just embracing the change. It's just hard for people.
And I think it bears kind of exploring how we got to skating to where the puck was going. Because we didn't take a look at the settlement and say, how do we try to continue operating the way that we've been operating? Or how do we keep it close to that? How do we just iterate slightly so that we can continue to operate the way that we have? What we instead did is we took a look at that settlement. We took a look at a lot of other things too. There were consumer organizations that were looking at the industry and picking apart, for instance, how complicated forms were. There was also a push from the Department of Justice. So there were a lot of different things simultaneously happening. We took a look at all of them. And, and especially with, Richard and Daphne and Jeff really kind of helping to lead the way. But we took a look at all of those things and said, what do all of these things have in common? And in many cases, it was really a push toward transparency.
Right.
So what we said was, geez, if the consumer and consumer action groups and the government are all looking for more transparency, let's just drive to that.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit like abiding by the spirit of the law as opposed to just the letter of the law.
Right.
Right? You're taking a look at what are they trying to get to, and let's just go for that. And I think that the result was a really positive one. And we're going to continue to see more of that. I don't think there's ever been a time where we have seen consumers say, we don't want transparency. We're not interested in clarity. We're not interested in things being simple or elegant solutions. We want complicated. And, we never see that happen.
Right.
So I think ultimately we have a sense that when a change is happening, how do we get to the heart of what is at that change? We talk about the kernel a lot.
Yeah.
Right? We see a situation where we go, this seems convoluted, but we look for the kernel within it. And then you try to go shoot for that.
Right. No, I love that. So ultimately, I think, there's not much to report. It's important that we had this conversation, because I think it will put future events maybe into perspective, because it was like the world was ending.
Yeah,
We
for
were
some,
gonna, for some, and that is how, and it's okay. There's people that feel like that about, they just really struggle. I don't get that because it's not necessarily me,
right.
but that doesn't matter. It's just who you are. But it was our job to like figure out who's going to be the most extreme panicked and figure out how, if we can figure it out for them, we can figure it out for everybody. And I have never been more proud of our team. We're still now dealing with basically the rentals is a similar thing that you mentioned. And it's all just transparency in the fees. We'll take it in stride. And the point is, even if you were that person that was like, the world is ending, this is not going to be okay, just kind of like being a year out and being able to be like, okay, like nothing really changed. In fact, I maybe got better at articulating my value. Perhaps I feel more confident in how this breaks down, and I'm not afraid to go say that, like, yes, I have a job. Yes, it requires a fee just like anyone else going out and making a living. And so there were some, good things that came out of it. And I'm just so excited because a year out now, I think we're the only company, even because we have a little bit of a gray area with PIN, we're the only large company in our region that genuinely took that date, took it seriously, and we're done with it.
Yes, it's over.
And there's
we didn't
people
have
that
to go
are
back
still
and do it
dealing
again
with it today.
Right.
So
Right.
I wanted to touch on that a year out and just be able to like say great job to our team, all parts of our team, our leadership team, and all the salespeople that are like juggling the craziness of the market along with these changes. It's definitely not easy, but everybody did a really good job, and we can confidently say a year out that not much has shifted.
And thank you to the consumers and our clients who continue to trust us.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that did happen, and we all knew this piece was going to happen, is that consumers were going to feel, buyers in particular, are going to feel empowered to go ahead and try this on their own.
Right.
And what we saw is, particularly in our marketplace where there is really not an abundance of inventory. It's a competitive marketplace. It's very challenging to find the right place and then to present an offer that is going to win you that home. That ultimately those buyers went out, they tried it on their own, and then they circled back and said, you know what, this really is a full-time job. It really is, even just trying to find the right place and to put a compelling offer together. So, I want to say also thank you to the consumers and our clients who continue to trust us to help them with that enormous transition of finding a new home.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.